waiting for the bits. This is usually where Lewis has gastrointestinal issues, but he's not here. You wanna rip one loud? I was supposed to say you wanna rip one in his honor. He'll be so humbled to hear like we thought of him. Let's see. He's gone for 2 weeks, right? God, he doesn't do anything. He's either a hermit in his house and he goes nowhere, or he goes to Italy for 2 weeks. I think one day. I never asked him that, but that is an interesting question. Like he goes there and he just stays in his Airbnb the whole time, doesn't go anywhere. I think we're live. Yeah, we're going. Boom! And we're live. All right. Are you going to be able to retweet this for me, or am I going to just tweet this out and not have it go anywhere?
I don't have the Cult of Mac Twitter.
You don't have it? They haven't entrusted you with the Twitter? I think I might have it, but I'm not going to try and mess with it right now, man.
I've got the mighty keys to the Cult of Mac Mastodon account. So
oh, yeah? Well,
there's 900 people on that account now. So
you're kidding. Yeah, well, shoot. Maybe you should retweet this there. We can use every listen we can get. All right. Well, I'll send it out. Oh, that's the wrong. Oh, we got some new avatars on the image for the episode. That's pretty cool. All right. Shout out to Mark T. Let's go. Keith Long says, "What's up, Buttercups? He's healed." Well, we have that power. You'll probably notice that we're missing Lewis Wallace this episode and next week, but I anticipate that will only improve this production by 15 to 20%. He's holding us back. Let's be honest. Griffin's hair is even more luscious than I ever imagined. Yeah, doesn't it look like he just jumped out of an airplane and paraglided right into that seat?
Without Lewis here, the average height of hair on this program is significantly improved.
Greatly increased. Yeah, and I just took a shower today, so mine's a little bit flat right now. It takes a day for it to fully volumize.
It could take just 15 minutes if you had a blow dryer.
Yeah, a blow-dried fro, not a good look. Not a good look. I think for you, because your hair's straight, it works for you, but definitely not for me. I don't know if you... do you know who Jared Polin is?
No.
He's like a photography YouTuber, and he's got like this huge fro. Like that's exactly what my hair. But it's not a curly fro. It's like a straight fro. Like if I brushed it out, it would just be out here, wiry, but it wouldn't actually be cool and curly. It's not an afro. It's a Jew fro. Completely different fro types, and that's what I would have. All right, all. Well, we're going to go ahead and just dive right into it. We got a lot of Apple topics to talk about here today. Oh, man, including some stuff I never thought we would actually get more intel about, like that 32-inch iMac, which I'm actually quite interested in, to be honest with you, because I think it might be like the iMac Pro replacement. And we've got some intel on new iPads. Some of it out there stuff. Some of it some crazy rumors that I don't really know what to make of it, but we'll go through everything. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Unfortunately, no Lou Cam this week because he's not here, so we can't focus in on his face while we do the Mrs. D intro, but I guess we could do it. We could go to Griffin, but he doesn't really react. He just sits there.
I just sit there and well, what the audience doesn't get to see is they don't get to see you as you perform the voice, and that's just captivating to me as they do it.
I don't know what you're talking about, first of all, but Lewis Lewis gets visibly disgusted when we do it. Oh, Lewis is in the chat. What is he doing here? Lewis, you're in the chat, but you're not joining us? All right, well, let's go ahead and do this because we got a lot of stuff to dive into and not a lot of time to do it. Oh, Mrs. D. Mrs. D. Particularly exuberant today. Oh, yes, my dear. Mrs. D, did you know that Lewis Wallace isn't here today? He's on vacation. Oh, I know. I miss him dearly. Yeah, he's on a vacation with Italy. Or in Italy, I should say. Oh, well, I'll be going on vacation soon with one Mr. LK. Oh, really? Yes. Oh, yes. We'll be going to a Central Beach vacation together. God. Did you hear that, Lewis? She's going on a sensual beach vacation. I don't even know what that means, to be honest. Like, I've never heard of such a thing. I've never been on one. But sounds... Look at Lewis's reaction in the chat. Okay. Yeah, Lewis, we'll send you that video footage when she forwards it to us. I'm sure you'll be interested to see that. Well, if you don't mind, Mrs. D, I'm grossed out. So is Lewis. He's in the chat. Now he can't enjoy his Italian dinner that he'll be going on soon. Let's get this thing rolling in 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30-minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Airphone Elijah. Joining me today, I just realized that I forgot to write the intros. Look at that hair. He is a hair twin for Hollywood actors who have voluminous hair. I can't think of any off the top of my head, though. He's also a new writer at CultMac. Griffin Jones is here. Dude, I knew I was forgetting something. I can't believe I forgot that.
I think that's the only thing we're forgetting, right? This is just a normal show. Otherwise, is there something else? I didn't.
Oh, I don't know if that's ever happened to me. Also, obviously, Lewis Walls is out this week and next week.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's gonna be me and the Grifster for a couple of weeks, which would be fun. Griffin or Lewis is. Do you remember what part of Italy he's gonna be in?
I did not receive that.
Yeah,
information.
I'm not even sure he even told me because I didn't even know he was going to Italy until Griffin casually mentioned it maybe a week or two ago, and I was like, wait, what? So Lewis is out. We invited LK to be here. Of course, he made an excuse and scurried away quickly. But I know, that's what I'm saying, man. I should have made a Craig Federighi intro. That's what I should have made.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. He's Hair Force. We could call you Hair Farce, but that would imply that you're wearing a toupee or something. So that wouldn't work. That was just the first thing that came to me.
It's all natural.
All natural, baby. All right, well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. Let's see. We're going to be talking about the 32-inch iMac Apple is prepping with the M3, reportedly. I seriously think this could be the iMac Pro replacement that we've all been waiting for. It looks like Apple is prepping their very first foldable. Yes, a foldable iPad might launch next year. And it looks, I mean, according to all the rumors, they are actively developing this, and this is going to be the first foldable. What do you guys think? A foldable iPad. Also, a bunch of rumors on what to expect for the iPad Pro coming up. It's supposed to get a new redesign, a bunch of new features. But the thing that caught my attention was the ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous, increases in price that we're seeing in these rumors. If they actually go through with this, I don't know who would ever buy an iPad Pro because they're going to be as expensive as a base MacBook Pro, which, I mean, who knows if these rumors are true at this point, but the prices I saw were bonkers. We'll talk a little bit about the new Apple Pencil, the USB-C version, and what you may or may not like about it. And we'll wrap up the show with, does fast charging actually harm your Apple devices? This is something that I am actually personally paranoid about, and I will go out of my way to not use fast chargers. Like, I've never used the stock charger, the 140-watt charger for my MacBook Pro. I've literally never used it. It's sitting in a drawer brand new because I'm concerned that its rapid charging ability will too quickly degrade the battery on my MacBook Pro. And then I saw the test results that we're going to talk about, and I found them to be very interesting. So we'll wrap up the show with that. I also have a funny story I wanted to start the show with. Something that I saw that it's kind of dark humor, so forgive me for this. But I was like laughing to myself, and I wanted to tell someone what I just saw, but I couldn't tell anyone because no one would care or even understand why this was kind of a funny story. But this is the perfect venue. Now that I'm amongst my people, this is the perfect place to actually tell you what I saw happen recently on a YouTube stream. And I think you all might find it at least a little bit humorous. Let's see here. Before we dive in, I do want to thank Squarespace for supporting this episode. Have you still not launched that website that you have been thinking about launching? If you haven't, may I encourage you to go to squarespace.com/cultcast. Sign up for the trial, get started. You don't need a credit card. You just create a username and a password. And that's how I got started with Squarespace. And now look at me. I just have money rolling in every single week. I host cultcloth.co on Squarespace, and I pay for it. They don't give it to me for free because I like it. It just is so easy to use. It's easy to build a website, and it integrates with all the services I need to operate my business, which is one of the things I love about Squarespace. So I barely have to touch the website at all. In fact, I could probably leave it alone for an entire year, and it would be perfect. Like, I don't need to install updates. It doesn't ever go down. I never have problems with ordering or fulfillment or anything like that. Well, fulfillment, actually, sometimes we do have problems, but that's not Squarespace's fault. That's because we keep running out of product. But the website part of it is just flawless. That's why I love Squarespace, and I have several sites. And maybe you want to sell a product, a digital product or a physical product. You can do that on Squarespace. Maybe you want to just promote your local business. One of the things I always mention too is they have a really beautiful one-page website that's highly impactful. It can be a big image or a video, and you can use it to promote yourself to potential employers. I think it's super effective. I have done a bunch of interviewing, and if someone has a really good website that highlights what they're good at, that is so much more useful than trying to dig through their LinkedIn work history. And it makes you look. It puts you a step above of other potential employees. So it's something I always encourage people to do. You can check it out at squarespace.com/cultcast. Sign up for the trial. If you like what you have and want to continue your service after the trial, just use code cultcast at checkout. You'll get 10% off your first purchase. Squarespace.com/cultcast. Use offer code cultcast at checkout. Okay, quick story. So, like I said, this is a bit of dark humor. So forgive me for this, but I had to share this with somebody, and this is the perfect group of people. So I was watching a YouTube stream this week, and some guy was basically talking about the different wars that are happening, which, terrible, right? Awful, not funny in any way, shape, or form. But as he was talking about some of these things that were happening, he accidentally activated those new hand gestures that you can use when you use a Mac. You know what I'm talking about,
Oh,
Griffin?
I've heard about these. Yeah, this isn't the first time I've heard about this. Like I've heard people in like their online therapy sessions triggering them accidentally.
Dude,
Like
it
talking
was
about morbid stuff.
that's exactly what happened. So he's like talking about the horrors of war, and he keeps like using his hands when he's talking. And as he was talking, he kept setting off the fireworks background. So like it's like this really morose, serious topic, but in the background the fireworks keep going off. And then I think he might have set off the confetti one where all the confetti kept going down. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, what is this feature called? It's new in Mac OS Sonoma.
I can, if you're watching the video, I think I can turn that on.
Yeah, it's
right
just
now.
the new reactions thing, and it's on
the
by.
reactions thing. So
I think it's on by default.
it is. So you give a thumbs up, you'll see a little thumbs up emoji. If you do a double thumbs up, you get the
That's the one.
fireworks.
That's the one. He
Yeah.
kept setting off, and I
There's
was like,
apparently some trigger
oh.
to activate the lasers. I don't know what the motion
Oh,
is, but
you did it. Did you just have to
you
say
can also you can also click. If you click in the menu bar, you can activate the rest of them.
Okay, and if you do like the
It's a
heart
real
symbol with
problem.
your hands, then
yeah.
it will set off like the heart thing. Yes, and so what's cool about this is a camera level setting, so it works in any app that uses your camera. But the problem is that most people that use Mac don't actually know what this feature is, and they don't even know how they're evoking this feature to turn it on. And so they're having like these serious conversations, and then all of a sudden confetti starts falling from the sky, or they're talking about some hideous war story, and then fireworks start going off in the background. And this guy had no idea what was going on. He was like, I don't know why this keeps happening. I don't know what's triggering this, and I don't know how to turn it off. And so he just had to keep
because it's a system level feature. The button to turn it on and off isn't where you would expect. Like if you're on a Skype call, as we are right now, I can't turn it off from Skype. I have to go to the menu bar,
Right.
click on the green camera button. Then I need to click on the word that says Skype, because if you have multiple apps open, as a live streamer probably does, you have to click on the right one and then you can turn off reactions. It's not easy to do. It's very easy to trigger accidentally because it's on by default. And most people never change or even think that it's possible to change these settings. It's a real problem. And
And
it
even
that
guys
reminds
like
me
us,
of
we don't even know like what hand gestures to use for the most part.
yeah, yeah. I even checked Apple's documentation and they don't list all of them,
Oh,
which
really?
is
They
weird.
don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried looking because I wanted to like figure out what all the hand gestures were and I couldn't find them. But that reminds me, there was a problem like I want to say 8 years ago or so where Google did their annual like April Fool's Day joke. I think this might have been the last one they did because of the backlash to it, where in Gmail they would add like a reaction GIF to the bottom of your email like right before you send it. And it
Oh,
became a problem because somebody was like sending an email through work, and right as they sent their email, it added like a GIF of like a minion doing a mic drop from like one of the Despicable Me movies, and it got them fired
wow.
because they were writing a professional email, but then it was like this reaction at the end of it, and it became a big thing.
It reminds me of this video that I saw during COVID when everyone was doing remote stuff and they were doing like remote um, court hearings. And there's this one lawyer who was trying to figure out how to use this computer, and he kept accidentally. I'm probably misremembering this. I don't know if you heard about this.
He was like
It's
putting on a dog filter on his face or something.
or it was like or it was like a cat meme kept playing or something,
Yeah.
and he had no idea what was going on. And the judge was like sitting there, perplexed, and this lawyer is like horrified. He's like some 65-year-old guy, and he doesn't know what's going on. And everyone's trying not to laugh. Anyway, it was that situation. So this guy's talking about war. Fireworks keep going off, confetti and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this is so bad," but it's also so funny. Like the fact that he doesn't know what's triggering this and it keeps happening and he's like super embarrassed, but he has to keep going and he can't stop and like these reactions keep going. So anyway, just a heads up to all of you here. Uh yeah,
Just a heads up to all of you here. There is a war going on in the Middle East.
yes. Okay, Level Remix has seen the video I'm talking about and he kept saying, "I'm not a cat, Your Honor. Sorry." And he kept apologizing for it. That was the exact video that I saw and he was dead serious. He didn't know what was going on. So again, black humor. I'm sorry, but it was a little bit funny that this guy kept triggering this thing accidentally. Okay, let's get into the Apple news. All right, let's see here. First and foremost, where are we going here first? Is this me or is this you? Oh,
I'll
good.
take
This is
this.
you, Griffin. And we're talking about the 32-inch iMac, a computer that I have long wanted, even though as soon as it comes out, I probably will decide not to buy one anyway. But it looks like it's definitely on the way.
That's right. Ever since the iMac Pro went away, or the 27-inch 5K iMac, after the Apple Silicon transition, they haven't replaced it. The only one they have right now is the 24-inch iMac, and that only comes with the base M1 chip. And it hasn't been updated since it released. It's been 2.5 years since
It's
that came
crazy.
out. There's the rumors now that Apple is going to replace the fill the spot of the iMac Pro with a 32-inch iMac, but that is apparently a couple years away, according to Ming-Chi Kuo. It's kind of funny because 2 weeks ago, we heard from Mark Gurman that they're going to come out with an iMac by the end of the year. Last week, Ming-Chi Kuo said, no, that they could come out with an iMac. And then now, again, 1 week later, Ming-Chi Kuo is saying, no, there won't be an iMac. So at this rate, if this trend continues, next week, Apple will release an iMac. And the week after that, they will discontinue the iMac forever. But this week, anyways, Ming-Chi Kuo says, um, where's the quote here? Oh yes, higher end 32-inch mini LED display iMac in 2025. That is all he gave us, but there's a lot to unpack there. By 2025, it'll almost certainly come with an M3 chip, 32-inch display. It could have an M3 Pro chip inside of it. Mini LED, that's a significant new technology. I think right now the iMac has like a low by Apple standards display,
Yeah.
although it is still pretty great. If you're in terms of the broader market. Quote, also threw cold water on those hoping Apple will introduce an M3 powered update for the current model in 2023. He says 24-inch iMac refresh in 2024. So not by the end of the year. And it kind of makes sense. Like, I feel like this is the one detail we missed when we were talking about this last week. Even if Apple were to come out with an iMac by the end of this year, they probably wouldn't have put the M3 in it because it would be weird if they debuted the M3 before they released the Vision Pro, which still has an M2 early next year. If they were to update it this year, it would probably still have the M2 in it.
That's a really good point. I, I'm baffled by the fact that Apple has not even bothered to update the iMac with an M2 at this point when all their other machines have moved on past the M1 and the iMac has been sitting there unchanged for what, 2.5 years at this point.
Yeah.
I am truly perplexed. I guess it just shows that a lot of people just don't buy these machines. Because if they did, they would probably actually care and put some effort into updating them. And maybe they're trying to save their engineering resources and their manufacturing resources for products that are actually more popular. My question to you, though, is this going to be 32-inch iMac? Is this going to be a iMac Pro level machine? What do you think about that?
Well, the iMac Pro was the only iMac to come with a Xeon chip, and back in the Intel days, like the only Macs that had Xeons were the iMac Pro and the Mac Pro, which is the highest end. So I guess mapping that to the Apple Silicon parlance, that means that it would have an M3 Ultra chip in it, and I don't foresee them putting an Ultra in the current design of the iMac, assuming that the 32-inch iMac is still just as thin as the base model iMac, because I don't think it has I mean, as cool as Apple Silicon runs, I don't think that skinny of an iMac has the cooling capacity for an M3 Ultra chip inside of it.
You don't think so, huh? Huh.
No, because
I mean, if they made it
I
a little
think
bit thicker, they could probably work it in there somehow. But I see what your point, and your point is, in its current form, it probably can't handle it. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder how that would interplay if they did do a M3 Ultra or something with the current hardware that they offer, right? Because they want you to buy the Mac Pro or the Mac Studio. So for that reason, I think what they will probably do is just offer the M3 Pro, and they'll make that an option for the 32-inch, right?
I think the iMac, they're mapping it as like a Mac Mini with a built-in display. So it'll have the M3 and it'll have the M3 Pro, but I don't think it'll have the Max nor the Ultra. Because if they span the whole range between M3 to M3 Ultra, then they have to like fill in 4 computers in the middle of there, and that's too many options for a computer that not enough people buy, I think.
Yeah. Although I would love that if they allowed us to buy an M3 Ultra iMac. That would be pretty cool, but it would be so expensive. I'm going to guess
they would
that
sooner make an M3 Ultra MacBook Pro. I've talked about this many times before. I think I put a video up a couple weeks ago, like the 7 Macs that Apple should make. I think it would be really cool if they competed with like those like gigantic, thick, like get quote unquote gaming PCs.
Yeah.
The ones that are built around like those desktop class graphics cards and only get like half an hour battery life. Apple could show them how it's done. They could be like, no, this is how you build a pro level MacBook. You give it a an Apple Silicon chip so it runs all day. It still gets all day battery life. It still runs at full performance even when it's unplugged. They'd have to make it thicker. Maybe even thicker enough to put in like a full height Ethernet jack in it. That would be cool.
Dude, some USB-A ports.
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting idea, to make an actual like desktop level notebook that is uncompromising when it comes to performance. And it might be ridiculously thick and heavy, which for that reason I think Apple probably would not make it. But they can give it a 17-inch screen.
I was just going to say of the 17-inch MacBook Pro.
I was just going to say that exact same thing, because I used to have the 17-inch PowerBook. That thing was a monster. It was huge, and it weighed. I don't even remember how much it weighed. It probably weighed 6 or 7 pounds. But now with Apple Silicon, like, they could shrink that type of machine down and give you all day performance or most of the day performance. I actually think. What do you think, chat? Is that something that you all would actually be interested in? Is that something that you would pay money for? I actually might.
And here's where it would really get you.
Okay.
If they anodize the whole thing in that black that the keyboard well is anodized in.
So it's just completely matte black, the entire thing?
Yeah.
Dude, they should even call it pitch black. That'd be pretty cool. Like the special edition, the 17-inch.
Hmm.
We have heard rumors that they are thinking about bringing back a 17-inch. I don't know if they would actually do it. So Mark T saying he would buy the Mac Studio instead. So I totally get that line of reasoning. I have many times tried to convince myself I should just get a Mac Studio. But the reason I don't is because sometimes I do need the portability of a notebook, right?
Hmm.
And I don't travel very often with a MacBook Pro, so it doesn't need to be super portable, but it needs to be something that if I needed to, I could bring it somewhere and work remotely. So for me, like the idea of having a 17-inch MacBook Pro that's just insanely powerful and still has like pretty good battery life, that actually is intriguing to me, especially if it had like 10G Ethernet built in, you have space for more ports, had a 17-inch OLED screen. Now I'm just daydreaming, but
I
I mean,
think
it's
I heard
also
this
going to
on a
cost like $8,000.
I think I heard this on a different podcast that whereas other companies bin their chips by, because like you assemble a chip, not all of them are going to perform at the same level. And there are two ways of approaching that. Either you sell the same version of the processor at different clock speeds, but keep the power input constant, which is what Intel and AMD do, or what Apple does is they they bin their chips um, by power levels. So the better chips that can run at the same speed at a lower power, they put inside their laptops,
Mm-hmm.
and the uh, I guess under spec chips that require more power input, they put in their desktop computers, such that every single chip that they ship runs at the same clock speed and performance.
Hmm.
And that means that like the knock-on effect is, as we've seen, their MacBook Pros run at exactly the same performance level as their desktop equivalents.
I hate that, by the
So
way. Yeah.
there's no performance benefit by buying a desktop, but that
Yeah.
does mean that the only real reason you should buy a desktop Mac is if you don't have the money to buy the MacBook equivalent. So
Yeah.
I think in your case, because as you have demonstrated, you have the money to spend and you frequently do spend it. I think there's no
Do I
reason for
demonstrate
you
that?
to
I don't spend
there's
that.
no reason for you to buy a Mac Studio over a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Whereas in my case, I wanted a 2 terabyte internal hard drive. I wanted more RAM. I wanted the M2 Pro. So I bought myself a Mac Mini instead because I also don't leave the house and I can get away with that.
Yeah, I don't go anywhere either. And to your point, I really try my best not to buy stuff. I mean, if you think I'm bad, LK literally buys anything Apple releases. He convinces himself he has to have it to review for the show. He probably still does that same thing, and for that same reason, even though he's not even on the show. But he'll buy anything, man. Like I have my limits. Like I'm a big value buyer, so I'll buy things that I think will help me do things better and save me time, and I'm willing to spend the money up front for a really good product as opposed to buying a piece of junk that isn't going to serve me very well, that I'm going to have to like fight with for the next 2 or 3 years. Like I just don't want to be hassled.
Hmm.
But I have my limits. Like I'm not going to buy a Vision Pro, especially reading all these stories about how developers are getting like neck strain and whiplash and all sorts of advanced neck injuries. Now I'm exaggerating, but they're getting like neck fatigue and that type of thing. And I'm still not convinced that Vision Pro is even going to be a product category in 2 years. Like I kind of, if we're just going to be truthful, I'm not certain of this, but my impression is in 2 years it will be gone. It's going to be DOA. I just don't think it's going to happen. I mean,
Really?
everyone's been trying to make this work. They can't make it work. Meta couldn't make it work. Now Apple's product is a lot better, but no one is going to be willing to spend $3,500, $3,400 for the Vision Pro, right? So they're going to have to create a cheaper version, and they're going to have to pull out a bunch of features. And the verdict is out on whether or not that cheaper version will be as useful or as cool as the more expensive version, if they're able to remove some of the frivolity, but keep the core experience the same. And so for that reason, it will still
the
be
jury
useful.
is still out on whether the actual Vision Pro is going to be what they say it is because it hasn't. None of these have even released yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can understand your skeptic, but I'm just going to say it comes with a, as all Apple products do, a 2-week free return window.
Yeah, that's true, which is probably used by 80% of the Apple review community to just buy stuff and then return. So I want to try it out, but I'm definitely not going to buy one, at least to start. I just, when I look to see what it does, I don't see anything there that indicates it's going to be the next generation of computing paradigm. I just don't see it. It doesn't really, it looks exactly like what the rumor said the industrial design team said it was. It's a product looking, or it's a solution looking for a problem. And that seems to be pretty accurate to me thus far. Like, it will be a cool toy for people who have money to throw around. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it turns into something really cool. I just don't see it yet. So anyway. All right, let's see here. Where are we going next? We got to talk about iPads, right? Yes. Okay. You want a foldable product. You demand a portable or a foldable iPad. We've been talking about this forever. We've talked about foldable Macs. We've talked about all sorts of foldable products that are on the market, most of which are garbage. You want one that Apple's going to make? Well, here you go. We finally got something coming down the pipe, and it looks like this is actually legit. This might be Apple's first foldable product. And I'm intrigued, I do have to say, because I think that a foldable iPad would be a perfect product to be foldable because you can fold it down, it's small and portable, but then when you open it up, you get a much larger screen. So here's the story. Foldable iPad might launch in 2024. Let's see. There are numerous Androids with foldable screens already available. Although this is a niche product, less than 1% of the world of smartphones have a foldable screen. Yeah, because most of them are absolute garbage. Let's see here. Supply chain sources reported that Apple is working with suppliers to develop a foldable iPad, and small-scale production could begin as early as the end of 2024, DigiTimes said Wednesday, though there might be a bit of a longer wait with the product launching, possibly in late 2024, maybe even early 2025. There are absolutely no details other than that. All we know is that it seems as though Apple is actually actively working on this and may indeed release a folding iPad. I kind of think if they did, it would be a larger screen product, like maybe like, I don't know, 18-inch iPad that folds down into a 9-inch product or something, like something that has a lot of screen real estate but is dainty when you fold it. I'm really curious to see how they would be able to execute something like this and still make the screen high quality. I don't know if you know this, Griffin, but all the foldables that I've seen have had plastic screens which scratch easily. Yes. And spending thousands of dollars on a product with a screen the same quality as a Nintendo Switch, not super appealing to me. I want something that's made out of glass. I presume that Apple probably has figured out a way to include a folding glass screen. It would probably be an OLED screen because OLED is self-illuminating. You don't have to have a backlight, so they can make it super thin and flexible. In fact, they have screens right now that they talk about at CES that are like millimeters thin. I mean, they're literally just a screen with no backing at all that hang from a wall. So I'm going to guess that it would be something like that. That could be a pretty compelling experience, in my opinion. The question is, how much would it cost? And maybe this is even going to be an iPad Pro, which, if it is, the rumors of cost might be justified. And as long as we're already talking about iPads, let me just jump into the iPad rumors we have for iPad Pro. So Mac Rumors did a really great breakdown of the rumors that are out there floating around about iPad Pro. But the one that really caught my eye was the one about price, which we'll talk about here in a moment. So let me see here. I'm reading from Mac Rumors now. Apple announced the current M2-based iPad Pro models 1 year ago today. So what can customers expect from the next generation model? The 2022 iPad Pro was a minor update that added the M2 chip, Apple Pencil Hover, which actually I think is a cool feature if you're an artist, and new specs like Wi-Fi 6E. By the way, dude, holy moly. I got the new iPhone 15 Pro Max,
Hmm.
And I had heard people say that even if you don't have Wi-Fi 6E routers in your house, the speed of the iPhone accessing Wi-Fi is hugely increased with these new phones, and
Really?
that is absolutely true. Like my 13 Pro used to get about 3 to 400 megabits down and up,
Hmm.
and the iPhone 15 Pro Max is almost maxing out my router's capability. I routinely in the tests get 800 to 900 megabits per second when doing speed tests.
That's crazy.
In fact, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this live right now.
Oh, sure.
Let's try
I
it.
wouldn't be able to take in any of that joy because living in the middle of nowhere, I'm lucky if I get 100 megabits down over Ethernet
Are you
with my Mac
serious?
Mini connected.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
wild. Okay, look, I can't show this obviously because it'll show you my IP address, and all of you will try to steal my banking information. Yes. Oh my. Let's see. So it's doing it right now. I'm getting 890 megabits per second.
Wow. And
Download.
that's while you're simultaneously live
And I'm
streaming
casting at the
the show
same
right now.
time. Yeah, it would probably be even faster. Yeah, dude, upload. Okay, it got up to 860. It just dropped down to, yeah, my final score. Final score, 910 megabits down, 810 up. So that is significantly faster than my iPhone 13 Pro was, for sure.
My upload speed, I think, is I can't possibly risk running it right now, but I think the last time I ran an upload test, it was like 5,
5
which is
up.
exact 5 megabits up, which is exactly enough to live stream the show and nothing more.
Yeah, well, that's all you need, I guess, right? I mean,
Hmm.
your speed upload is working well enough that you're not like cutting in and out and being delayed and stuff. Okay, back to the story. So, what else are we expecting for the iPad Pros? Well, the M3 chip, obviously, um, and let's see, more storage options. So a 4 terabyte storage option. It also is rumored that Apple will offer an OLED version, or I guess they will be OLED versions. So you'll get a much better contrast ratio, really beautiful OLED screens. OLED is currently the best technology that exists for contrast and color saturation and accuracy and that type of thing. We're also expecting larger screens. So the new iPad Pro models are rumored to get display size increases. Oh, these are only small, from 11 to 11.1 inches and 12.9 inches to 13 inches. Okay, well, all right, dude. I'll give that to you, but that's not exactly a huge increase. But here's the part that I was like, this if this is true, this is going to be not a popular product. Actually, hold on. Improved cameras. The iPad Pro has the same 12 megapixel main rear camera and has had that same camera since 2017. And then also, it could get, we're expecting a completely refreshed look since that look has been around a while. Okay, so they're all the features.
I have
But,
one more I want to call out.
okay, go for it.
It says there's going to be new connectors on the side of it. Like right now, the smart connector has like 3 pins, and they say that there are going to be 2 4-pin connectors. So
Okay.
we could be getting some exciting new accessories too.
Okay, yep, there you go. So some new connector types, possibly new accessories. Oh, shoot, I missed this one. Wireless charging. It was reported that Apple was testing a new iPad Pro with glass back to enable wireless charging. I mean, dude, I guess they'd have to have a new charger as well. Reverse wireless charging, that's a rumor. That would be super cool. We've been talking about that forever. That would be really useful. I would love that on my iPhone, to be honest with you, because it would give me an easy way to charge my AirPods because they're Lightning. I'm not going to be replacing those anytime soon. Just to get USB-C on the AirPods Pro. A redesigned keyboard, 3rd generation Apple Pencil. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll see about that. I mean, that would make sense if they released the new Pencil at the same time as the iPad Pros. I mean, the 2nd generation's been out forever, and yeah, 5 years old now for the 2nd generation. Wow. They just released that new Pencil, but it's basically like a revamped Apple Pencil 1. So that's not going to be what you go to for the new iPads. Okay, price. Let's talk price. The more advanced, I'm reading from the Mac Rumor story again. The more advanced OLED display technology in the next generation models is expected to drive up the iPad Pro's price, with current estimates starting at $1,500 to $1,800 for the 11-inch, and I presume the base 11-inch, $1,500 for the base 11-inch and $1,800 for the base 13-inch model. What do you think about that, Griffin? The current 11-inch iPad, by the way, iPad Pro, $799, and the base 12.9-inch iPad Pro, $1099. So this would be almost a doubling in price.
You know, this might be a weird thing to say, but I think that would actually be better for the iPad as a whole.
Okay.
Because right now,
Wasn't
if you
expecting to go
have
there.
if you have like $900 to spend on an iPad, like what do you buy? There are so many iPads in that price range. Like the iPad Pro, I think is too close to the iPad Air
Yep.
in terms of specs. Like they're only $150 apart, and like for that money you get what? You get Face ID, and that's, I mean, I admit I don't have an iPad, but like that's the only thing I can,
That is
like,
pretty
tangible
useful, though,
feature I
I have
can
to
think of
say.
off the top of my head. It
Uh-huh.
has a slightly better display. Like, yeah, it's a useful feature, but like it's weird that that's a separate product with a separate name that's that only has like a couple different features about it. I feel like the iPad Pro, if they want to keep the same number of iPads in the lineup, they need to introduce more higher end iPads, or at least shift it up market to justify its existence better compared to the iPad Air. Because right now, I mean, they have the iPad Mini, they have the ninth generation iPad, the 10th generation iPad, the iPad Air, and the iPad Pro. And I think all of them can be spec'd to about that price range, which is a kind of madness. And yeah, the iPad Pro is going to be going up in price and base model pretty significantly. So if you're a current customer of an iPad Pro, you might not be buying another iPad Pro in a few years. You might be buying an iPad Air instead. But the people who have the money to buy an iPad Pro, well, they have the option to buy an even more premium device.
I just wonder how many people are going to be willing to drop $1,500 to $1,800 for an iPad. I mean, I already think they're way overpowered, right? The iPad Pro, the horsepower far exceeds its ability. It's like putting
Hmm.
I've said this before, it's like putting a Lamborghini engine in a Subaru, right? Like it just you can't really utilize the power that is available on an iPad because there are no apps that really take advantage of it. So the whole thing doesn't really make a lot of sense to me as far as the pro features are concerned in many respects, because you're paying for all those features, but a lot of them you can't really utilize that. I don't know. It's from a productivity perspective. So I would tap out there. I'm like, if you're going to charge $1,500 for an iPad, I guess I'll just go back to the iPad Air, and maybe that's what they want. They'll probably increase the iPad Airs too, so they'll make more money off that. But you're like, well, it's not $1,500 now; it's only $800, and I'd rather just go that route. I could totally see them doing that, but
Now, the whole software side of the story, that is another valid conversation to be had. But I think if you put yourself in Apple's shoes, they don't think about the iPad that way. They think this is just a different kind of computer. And
sure.
Macs can go that expensive, so why can't iPads go that expensive? Because in Apple's mind, you can do the same amount of work on everything, and you simply pick your favorite form factor. And so the fact that there is this like higher ceiling of prices that the Macs go to that the iPads don't go to, that they think, well, what would it be like if we made an iPad with at that price point? Like
Dude, I cannot believe that is actually true. Like, I know that's the way they pitch it. That's the way the marketing department pitches it. But if they actually think that an iPad and a MacBook Pro are the same thing, they're just different form factors, and you get to just choose the way you'd like to work, and you can do the same work on a iPad Pro as you could on a Mac. Like, that is so disconnected from any actual semblance of reality. iPads are really wonderful consumption machines. They are good if you're an artist. Outside of that, if you're a developer, you're not using an iPad. If you're an editor, you're not using an iPad. I mean, you can do those things on an iPad, but it's like this janky, hacky, bad workflow that you have to force yourself to learn and to get used to. It's a diminished experience. There's nothing about it that is as good from a productivity perspective as a Mac. And all of us know that, right? I mean, is there any actual debate on that? I'm looking around like there's anyone here with me. But for all of you listening, for all of you watching live, We all know that, right? I mean, we all are on the same page on that. Let me know if there's any disagreement there. We'll have the moderator standing by to boot you from the production.
And like the fact that we talked about this simultaneously with the folding iPad story almost made me think maybe these aren't different devices. Maybe the more expensive iPad is the folding iPad. Like the only thing that gives me pause is the fact that they specifically cite like a screen size, like it'll have an 11.1 and 13.0 inch screen. But maybe they're misattributing those new screen sizes to like the refreshed iPad Airs. And these new, more expensive iPads are actually the folding devices.
I do think that's a distinct possibility, and that would actually make a lot more sense. If you're going to have prices be at almost double where the current iPads currently are, to me that indicates this is a new product line, right? You're not coming in with some new features and raising the price of iPad Pro to almost double. That would piss a lot of people off. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. You maybe raise iPad Pros a little bit, but now you have a new folding version, which has a slightly bigger display. But then again, that doesn't make sense either. Why would you want an 11-inch folding iPad? That doesn't make any sense. So, now I'm really confused. All right, let's just move on. Before we do though, Griffin, I want to give a thank you to. Why is this not loading? There we go.
That's a weird name for a sponsor. Why is this not loading?
I want to give a thank you to Factor for supporting this episode. Oh, mama. I do love my Factor meals. I love having them around the house. They're so delicious. Let's see here. With the busy fall season already in swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals ready to eat. Delivered straight to your door, you'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle. I love having these in my house. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I really just love them. They're so good. And their meats are fresh, never frozen. So when you prepare them, first of all, they take minutes to heat up. I like the protein-heavy meals, like the ones you're seeing on your screen, like a big old slab of meat. They have really delicious sauces, and they give you a lot of sauce. So it'll be like a hunk of meat just sitting on a bed of sauce or slathered with sauce, and then a really big side of vegetables. That's like the kind of eating I like to do. It doesn't make you sleepy. Like, it just fills you with energy, and they've got a bunch of really delicious, unique tasting recipes, and they heat up in minutes. I mean, they're ready to go. It's like having takeout in your fridge at all times, just ready to go. And they're all really delicious. Relish the best of autumn with fall flavors. Our limited time only hearty, comforting meals featuring seasonal veggies like cranberry pecan chicken and apple Dijon pork chops, ready in just 2 minutes. They'll satisfy your fall cravings during the busy season without the hassle. Head to factormeals.com/cultcast50 and use code CultCast50 to get 50% off. That's code CultCast50 at factormeals.com/CultCast50 to get 50% off. It's a really great value. Food is really expensive these days, so this is actually it makes the price of the food very affordable, especially for things that you can just have in your fridge ready to heat up. And if you're getting ready to go work out, go on a run or something, these are great meals to have like 30 minutes before you go and work out. You'll just be flooded with energy from that high-packed protein meal, as I always call it, man food. I want to thank Factor for supporting this episode. And another quick, just a shout out. If you're looking for some new podcast content to listen to, we're doing these really cool promo swaps with podcasts that we like. So they promote us to their listeners, we promote them to our listeners, just to kind of give you an idea of what else might be out there that you might want to listen to that might be similar in tone. And for this week, we are promoting calmhistory.com. Let me bring this up. There we go. Silk Studio podcast. If you want to learn about fascinating moments in history in the most relaxing way possible, there you go. There's a genre. Then try the new podcast, Calm History. Each episode is narrated in a calm voice to help you relax or fall asleep. You'll learn more about famous explorers, leaders, inventions, civilizations, and ancient wonders. There is even a 6-part series about the Titanic. Just search the podcast player for Calm History or use the link calmhistory.com to go to their website, calmhistory.com, or just search for Calm History, that's 2 words, in your podcast player of choice. All right. Where are we going next? I should know this, but I don't. Oh, okay. We got to talk about the Apple Pencil. All right. Let's do it. If we have to, let's go ahead. Let's talk about Apple Pencil. Not big, exciting news this week, but kind of controversial, I would say.
What are you talking about? This is the biggest, most exciting product release Apple has ever released.
Well, you haven't done that
the last
nearly
few weeks.
You haven't done that in Tim Cook's whisper, passionate voice. You know how he does that when he's trying to pretend like he's actually passionate about something?
Oh, yeah. Well,
I won't force you to do it.
Thank you for that. You're so considerate. You're such a benevolent podcast co-host. What are we talking about? This is the new Apple Pencil that you alluded to in talking about the iPads. As we all know, there was no actual iPad announcement this week, but Apple did just randomly drop a new pencil. So this is a new version of the Apple Pencil. It uses a USB-C port for charging, so it's a better fit for use with the budget iPads, or really any of the iPads in the lineup. It's $50 less than the Apple Pencil 2, the premium model, but of course it drops a few of the features. Both of them attach magnetically. You can snap them onto the side, but only the premium Apple Pencil 2 charges that way. This one charges exclusively using the USB-C port, sort of built into it.
Yep.
It's $20 cheaper than the Apple Pencil 1, which has a Lightning port on it for use with older iPads. There's still a lot of iPads out there with Lightning ports, so that one is confusingly still also for sale. So there's kind of a mess of iPads right now, as they were talking about. There's now also a mess of pencils.
Yeah.
But the new budget option doesn't offer pressure sensitivity. That's one of the features you lose, unlike the other two pencil models. So it's it's cheaper, but it's less of a good fit for like artists if you're doing like digital art on your iPad. If you're a student, taking notes, you don't necessarily need the pressure sensitivity if you're just, taking down notes in class. It's also not paired with a specific iPad via Bluetooth. However, the Apple Pencil (parentheses USB-C) does offer the new hover feature on the recent iPad Pro tablets. If you have an iPad Pro with that, with this new pencil. So the timing is weird. It comes a year after they released the 10th generation iPad with USB-C, but also it seems to be like 6 months before we're expecting new iPads. I don't really know why they dropped it just randomly in October, but here we are. It's also confusing that it doesn't like entirely replace the original Apple Pencil. So it's kind of an awkward product, but I imagine in time, we're in the middle of an iPad transition right now.
Yeah.
Like none of their iPads are any newer than 12 months old. Like I think Basic Apple Guy posted to social media that like all of the iPad lineup is between like 12 to 21 months old right now.
Wow.
We're in a weird spot. And this is only emblematic of that. But if you don't have a lot of money to spend, I think it's a perfectly good product.
I just wonder who it's for. If they don't have pressure sensitivity, so the pressure sensitivity on the Apple Pencil 2 is really cool. So when you're drawing, if you press a little bit harder, your lines get thicker. And losing that, I would have to talk to an artist and ask them, does that matter? I imagine that matters. When you're trying to fill in a picture that you've drawn and you want to do it quickly, you press a little harder, and so your lines become thicker. It's like how a normal pencil works. And if you lose that, I would presume that you're going to lose the interest of artists. But I guess if you're just someone who likes to take notes on their iPad, or if you're getting this for like your kid and they're coloring and stuff, then I suppose it doesn't really matter. But someone made a point, I forget who this was. I was just looking at the conversation on the new X, and people were now comparing this with like the Logitech Kid pencil, which I forget what is it, the Logitech
Crayon?
Okay.
Yeah.
So it has a lot in common with that, but that's a lot cheaper. So who is this thing for? I don't really know who it's aimed at. I also kind of wonder how many people only use their iPad or the Apple Pencil for taking notes and not also for doing drawing and stuff. Now, I actually am one of those people. I doodle sometimes. I'm an artist, but I do still like having the pressure sensitivity. That is kind of a cool feature when you're writing because it makes your handwriting look more natural on the iPad since it reacts to pressure. So I am a little perplexed by this product. It seems like the third-party options already have this need fulfilled with their products, like the Logitech crayons. I don't know, I guess if you really want an Apple Pencil and you don't want to spend the money on the Apple Pencil 2. But yeah, it is. The iPad lineup is confusing, and now the Pencil lineup is confusing, so at least they match.
Well, it differentiates itself from the crayon in that a high school or middle school student wouldn't want to use a device called a crayon.
I don't know if that's true, man. I really don't know if that's true. Okay, let's pull this up. You know, just because a high
an
school
embarrassed teenager would want the one that looks like a pencil because that's a more adult device.
I would not, even at my stage in life, I would not mind drawing with something called a crayon. Let's look it up. I mean, because although I would imagine Apple's version is probably nicer than this. So here's the Logitech crayon. If you were using this, even in a business setting, it looks fine. I mean, no one's going to know. It doesn't have like big, it doesn't have crayon written across the front in like big kid font, right? Like that would be a different story if it looked like it had, but it looks like a professional device. I would never tell you, I would never be able to tell that this wasn't just a really cool stylus. Anyway, so is this the only Apple Pencil competitor that's out there that is actually popular? Have you heard of any other ones?
I don't think I have. Like, there's the other ones that just have like the little what do you call it? The little tip on the end that just sort of mimics a finger touch on the screen, but those aren't really styluses. I'm kind of amazed. Like, I don't think there are any other direct competitors to the Apple Pencil. I don't know if it's a proprietary thing that they like worked with Logitech to implement, or I don't know if other companies just don't see the point in trying to compete with the Apple Pencil. I'm also kind of surprised that I don't see any other like good alternatives to the combination keyboard trackpad. Like there used to be Bridge, but they like famously went bankrupt a year ago or something like that because like their Apple apparently didn't open up like the driver for the trackpad as well. So like they had a competing combination keyboard trackpad, but their trackpad was kind of sucky, and everybody complained about that in all of the reviews they send out. But like I don't know of any other like Apple Pencil-esque devices or even like any other smart connector accessories.
It looks like there are some. I'm looking at one on Amazon that's pretty popular. The Adonit Note Plus. I've never even heard of this. Digital pencil with palm rejection. That's interesting. So that technology lies within the pencil. Pressure sensitivity, support, tilt stylus for iPad Pro. There you go. Okay, so it's got, I mean, not the best ratings, 3.9 stars out of 5. I'm kind of wondering, like, let's see here. Apple Pencil. What is the Apple Pencil reviews? What are those like? Oh, wow, they're very good. Okay, that's the first generation. The second generation, okay, it's good. It's good. It's definitely okay. So what's
their average star rating?
It's for a 4.7. So
wow.
It's the gold standard. I mean, there's nothing that's like it that I've seen that's ever even close to that. And you can buy a like new Apple Pencil from Amazon warehouse deals for $75, $74. That's a pretty good deal. Dude, I have to say, like, I don't really have a ton of use for my Apple Pencil because I'm not an artist, as I said, but it is very cool. And its ability to write and actually reject your palm prints and reproduce your handwriting on your iPad is almost magical. It works so well. And I have an older iPad Pro. Like, the new ones are even better. And they have the little, I forget what they call it, that positioning circle that floats above the iPad as you're getting close to touching it. Nick Paris, everyone has no shame though. 17-year-olds are more sensitive. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But I almost feel like 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, like they just don't care about anything. They're like, whatever, dude. I'll just use whatever you give me, like the pencil. That's fine, man. Like it says crayon. I don't care.
It varies 17-year-old to 17-year-old.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Okay. There's your Apple Pencil news. It's funny that we had the biggest flood of people coming in to watch that segment. I thought that was going to be a real snoozer, but that was actually more interesting than I thought. All right, well,
who just tuned in, please rewind back to the more interesting part of the show.
well, Griffin's now putting in the episodes, the timestamps in the episode if you're watching on YouTube. So if you want, you can go right to. We are trying to figure out how to do this in the actual podcast. Believe it or not, it's not very straightforward. So we haven't gotten that part down. I don't know. What do you think, chat? Would you actually enjoy? I guess for me, I kind of figured I'm like Radiohead, man. Like I'm like, our album is our album. We don't need to put in tracks because you're gonna just listen to the whole thing, and you don't really need to bounce around. Maybe that's kind of an old school way of thinking. I'm like,
it's not like we make more money if people listen to the whole episode.
No, it doesn't matter.
It's just out of the convenience of our users.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. Teddy's saying add chapters or whatever. Teddy, get out of here. Someone kick Teddy out of here. Your last name's Zucchini, Teddy. You sound like a new hybrid vegetable. We can't take you seriously. I'm just joking, man. I'm the last one that can make fun of any names. What's that?
I'll add a chapter, and I will name one of the chapters in Teddy's honor.
Oh, the Zucchini chapter. All right. Yeah. One day, we don't have to do this now, obviously, since we're almost out of time, and I don't want to spring this on you. But I would love to do like an episode of things that we want to do, that just to get people's feedback. I have ideas, but I never really know if they're good ideas until okay, well, there you go. Mark T says, I want more CultCast Unplugged. That was one of the things that I was curious about. All right, well, I feel the tingle to go on a tangent, but I'm not going to do that here. Maybe we could do that in a different episode. As I mentioned last week, we are trying to transition editing of the show over to D. Griffin Jones. He did the episode last week, so if you hear anything that's off, you got to come complain to D. Griffin Jones and let us know what he missed. But once we've made that transition complete, I will have more time to focus on changes that we potentially want to make, because as I mentioned before, I'm just so maxed out. Like, I just don't have any time these days. And so I'm looking for ways to reclaim some time so we could come up with so we could implement some different strategies and changes and that type of thing. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not going to go on a tangent. Here I am halfway into it. All right, Griffin, let me send it to you for the last story of the show. Fast charging. Does it hurt your battery on your iPhone? Now, you may have heard, some of you out there, that charging batteries too fast degrades the battery life. So it's better to charge more slowly. Now, I don't know if I told you this in the pre-show, but I was telling Griffin, did we do this during the actual show where I talked about how I actually don't use my MacBook Pro charger?
I think you just told that to me. Tell the listeners too.
Okay, so this is actually something that I am paranoid about. And I am super nerdy about battery maintenance. I have this insane battery charger that allows me to specify the current that needs to be used. I can charge and discharge batteries for all my rechargeable batteries in my house, and I always charge them at the lowest current because I have heard that charging batteries slowly prolongs their useful lifespan. So the capacity degrades more slowly if you charge them slowly. And if you charge them fast, it degrades the battery capacity much faster. So with my MacBook Pro, I got the 140 watt charger with that computer. I have literally never used it. It has been sitting in a drawer ever since I got it because I have been worried that using it will cause my battery to degrade more quickly. And so I use a 100 watt charger to charge my MacBook Pro battery. And I really do wonder, does charging fast make a difference? And you might be wondering that with your iPhone. Enough preamble. We actually have some interesting experimentation that came out this week. I can't believe no one's ever tested this before, but here are the results. Griffin, take it away.
So, like, this is like in one of the many strings of like tech superstitions that people have who don't know the precise
tech
answers.
Superstition. How dare you, dude? How dare you?
Like, do you need to quit apps on your phone constantly and habitually to preserve your battery life? No, it's actually worse for your battery life. Like, this is one from like 20 years ago that you and I might remember. Does your computer slow down if you put too much stuff on your hard drive?
That definitely happens, man.
In the extreme case, but like it's complicated. It's not as simple as people think it is.
Okay.
Like this is another one. Like, does it hurt the battery on your iPhone if you use an iPad charger instead? So apparently, Mac Rumors forum user Vadim Yuryev charged their iPhone 14 using a 5-watt charger.
Oh, wait a second. Hold on a second. He's not just a Mac Rumors user. He's half of the Max Tech YouTube channel. They have like 1.3 million subscribers. It's Vadim. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I even had the tweet in the show notes. You deleted the tweet, man. Now I got to go look for it. It's freaking Vadim that did this.
Oh,
Okay, go.
I don't know YouTubers. I don't read
That is
YouTube. I
hilarious.
read articles.
Max Rumors, a forum user, Vadim Yuriev. Yeah, it's like Max and Vadim
Well,
Yuriev. Yeah, okay, anyway.
okay. Well,
Take it
that's
away.
how Dave Snow, who is
Yeah.
writing up this article on Cult of Mac, that's the byline he
Dave
used.
Snow.
Mac.
We got to get this guy some knowledge. All right.
Okay. Anyways, he charged his iPhone 14 using a 5-watt charger and his spouse's iPhone 14 using an 18-watt fast charger every night for a full year. After that time period, the 5-watt charged iPhone 14 showed 98% battery health, while the 18-watt charged iPhone showed 97% battery health. Not much different, he concluded. And your mileage might vary depending on like how much you use your phone, how much you charge your phone, how long you keep it on the charger, etc. But like this seems pretty conclusive to me. Charging both iPhones identically every night for a year, one on a fast charger, one on a 5-watt charger, virtually no difference. How does that make you feel?
I can't believe it, man. I actually really can't believe it. Okay, hold on. Philly T saying my volume's too high and Griffin up yours. Okay. I mean, seriously, you guys are just bringing this up now. Has anyone else noticed this? It's been going on for weeks. Toss me a freaking bone here. All right, let me know, chat. I noticed that my audio looked actually quite hot as well, and I have absolutely no idea why that would be because I didn't change any settings. Although, quiet for weeks, Griffin, yeah. Okay. Ted Zucchini, the hybrid vegetable, he says it's fine. Okay, whatever. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. I always appreciate that. So I updated my mixer firmware recently, and I've been having strange issues. And one of the issues that we've been having, and I think it is my mixer, is the I'm not even going to try to describe it. Our episodes or our voices aren't being recorded at the same quality levels, and so our timings are drifting. So like when we go to episode or edit the episode, Lewis and Griffin's audios stay in sync, but mine will start to drift. And so it's in sync when you start the edit, but by the time you get to the edit, I'm like having a conversation by myself because they're no longer in sync with my audio. This is probably too technical to bring up on this show, and it's one of the most annoying problems to fix when you're editing an audio show because you have to constantly go in and adjust the timing, and you have to do it. It's very manual. It's very time consuming. Anyway, thanks for the heads up. I just lowered it a little bit. Let me know if that's better. I completely interrupted you, Griffin. Was there anything else we were saying about this? Oh, you were asking me if this is surprising, right?
I was asking you how it makes you feel. Are you going to change any of your habits?
It's stunning to me. Sometimes you have an idea that something works in a specific way, and then you see data that refutes that line of thinking, and it makes you want to just reject the data and say that can't be right. And again, this is anecdotal. This is just Vadim, but I do find this pretty crazy. I mean, so his wife's phone used the 5-watt charger, and his phone used the 18-watt charger, right? And at the end of the year, there was only a 1% difference in battery health. That is wild to me. I guess that just shows me that the charger is not as important as how long you leave your phone at max capacity, because I think that truly does kill your battery quite fast. And the reason I say that is because it's happened on my MacBook Pro, and it's happened on my previous iPhone, where in the first year I lost like 10% battery capacity because I was just leaving them charged as when I was at my desk. And now I use an application on my Mac, which I've talked about before, called Al Dente, so that my Mac never charges above like 76 to 80%, and it just stays there. Every once in a while, you do want to charge it to 100% and then let it drain all the way back down. But my MacBook Pro battery capacity after a year and a half, almost 2 years, is 95%, and it just dropped from 96%. That's pretty high, I think.
I can back that up. When I was in college using my MacBook Pro, like, my whole time in college, I feel like my battery barely degraded at all because I was, taking it to class every day. I was keeping it plugged in for like, maybe a couple days max over a weekend if I didn't unplug it all weekend. As soon as I graduated, as soon as I left it permanently plugged in at home for a while, that's when the battery started to swell, and that's when I like lost all capacity whatsoever.
Wow.
You got to use it. You got to use it to keep it.
Dude, I had a I've told this story before. I had a hybrid vehicle and we just weren't driving it all that often. And then one day I got some weird check engine light and this car had 100,000 miles on it. It was a Ford, which might have been my problem. I take it to the dealership and he goes, "You need a new battery." And I was like, "Dude, that's crazy. How could I possibly need a new battery?" He's like, "Well, have you been letting it sit for long periods of time?" I'm like, man, not long periods of time, a week, maybe sometimes 2 weeks. And he said that's the killer for hybrid batteries that have any level of miles on them. And I was like, "Well, how much is a battery?" And he goes, $6,000. And I'm like, "This car is not even worth $6,000. Are you telling me that my Ford Escape hybrid with 100,000 miles is basically garbage at this point?" And he didn't know what to say, man. He was like, "I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry, but you need a new battery." So it was at that time I decided I will never buy a used hybrid ever again. It is simply not worth the risk because if you don't drive it every day, or if the person before you didn't drive it every day, they could have irreparably damaged it to such a degree that you will need to spend $6,000 or $7,000 on a battery. Now, look, the chance is remote, but for me, it's a very high risk. I mean, you could get a used hybrid that wasn't treated well, and it's probably less of a risk if you have like 20, 30,000 miles, obviously, but if you have like 80, 90, 100,000 miles, that is definitely something that you need to ask the person you're buying the vehicle from because they will probably lean towards honesty because they think that low driving is a good thing on a hybrid, right? They consider that to be a positive when in actuality, it's a negative for a hybrid because you need to condition the battery on a regular basis. It looked like you were getting ready to say something.
I will push back on that
Okay.
a bit because I have, I mean, I've driven gas cars. When I was a teenager, you're the lowest rung of the family. People just throw you whatever car you can take. But I have personally never owned an entirely gas vehicle. My first car was a cheap electric car from like the mid 2000s. Then I bought the 2001 Honda Insight that is
That's pictured on your wall.
Pictured
So beloved
above my
that
shoulder.
he's got a picture of it as wall behind.
Yes, yes. It's not my exact car, but yes, I have. I drove a 2001 Honda Insight. It was already pretty old when I bought it.
Uh-huh.
It was Honda's very first modern hybrid vehicle. It actually predates the Prius by a couple years. I bought that at I think at like 119,000 miles, or no, maybe no. I bought the Prius at 119,000 miles. I don't remember what the mileage was when I bought it, but it was already an old hybrid car.
Okay.
I was the fourth owner of it. I don't know, like the battery was perfectly fine on that car. Like then I sold it. I bought the Prius. The Prius had 119,000 miles. I bought that car like 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's also perfect. Like I don't think.
Well, now hold on. I think that one of the reasons that you did so well is because you bought the right brands. I think Toyota, especially,
That's true.
they probably are the most reliable brand that exists in this galaxy, right? When it comes to cars, and they may have designed their battery in such a way that it isn't as prone to issues. Ford, on the other hand, I'm like,
Yeah,
are you going to trust hybrid
your
technology?
First mistake was buying an American car. But
I can't believe that my hybrid from GM failed. That's just so shocking. How did this happen? You're like, that was my fault. That was my fault.
The other thing I want to mention though is that buying a brand new battery isn't your only option. You can recondition batteries for like a fraction of the price, and it'll give them much more life. If you drive a Prius or a Honda or like one of the more popular hybrids, then there are probably people in your town or nearby who like know how to do this already. Or if you live in a bigger city, it's more likely to like. I live in the middle of nowhere, but I know that like a couple towns over, there's a Prius guy who just works on Priuses, and he can recondition batteries for like a couple $100. So,
Oh, wow.
if in a few years my Prius starts to go and I don't want to buy a new car, I mean, I kind of desperately want a new car, but like, if for
Yeah,
whatever
I did
reason I
too.
decide to keep the Prius, I can just have the batteries reconditioned instead.
Well, now, so I did look into that. We're way off in the weeds here.
Mhm.
We'll have to wrap this up here pretty soon. I did look into that, and I don't know if there's any local experts that could have done that for me for a fee. That would have been ideal. The way it normally works is you have to like literally ship your battery somewhere, and they'll ship you a new one. But the way that it worked, at least in my situation, and my car is not as popular as a Prius, so this might be why, is they will essentially take a battery that has failed. They'll open it up, they'll test all the cells, and they'll replace the cells that have failed because it's usually only a handful of cells that have died, and they'll replace those, and then they'll send it back to you, and it works. But the problem is you don't know if more cells are going to fail in the future, and their warranties for those batteries are very short, and their costs are still pretty high. So the warranty that I was looking at was like a year or two, but the cost of the battery was $3,000. So it's still pretty expensive, and you're kind of rolling the dice to see if it's going to perform for you. Again, with a Prius, you might be way better off. I mean, I was driving a Ford Escape hybrid. Don't buy a hybrid from an American car company. That's going to be question unless you're buying it brand new. I would never buy like a Chrysler.
Chrysler Sebring hybrid. I don't think such a thing exists, but we should be glad that it doesn't.
Don't buy the Plymouth. Oh God, what was the name of that car? The PT Cruiser convertible hybrid. Did you ever see like the PT Cruiser hybrids? I got to bring this up. This is probably the ugliest car that was ever produced, and I used to see these everywhere. PT Cruiser. I mean, first of all, it's a PT Cruiser, so very cool concept car. And when it came to market, was not cool in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so here you go. I'll bring this up in browser mode here in a sec. Sorry for those of you listening. You're going to have to just Google it. Oh, no, it brought up the PT Cruiser Hybrid. So here's a whole list of PT Cruisers, right? Here's what the PT Cruisers look like, right? Not a cool car. And then somebody at GM got the brilliant idea to turn this monstrosity into an actual convertible. This is it looks like a small car. It's actually kind of a mid-sized car, I would say. This is like an SUV convertible. Is that not the most hideous thing you've ever seen? Like, just looking at it makes me aggressive and angry. This should never have been.
I can do you one more.
Okay.
Google the Nissan Murano Cross Cabriolet.
Oh, dude, I think I saw one of those on the road, and I'm impressed that the Nissan Murano, I think my uncle used to have one of those. Cabriolet. I don't even know how to spell that. Cabriolet.
Imagine an SUV that doesn't have good storage space because it has a collapsible top. It doesn't have good visibility because it has a soft top. And it isn't a very good convertible because it's an SUV, so it has horrible body roll. It's bad at everything it is trying to do.
You might have one-upped me. I'm not happy about it, but you might have one-upped me. I'm trying to look at I'm trying to find a picture of it. The good news is if you're dying for a used car that's actually affordable, this might be it for you. Like if you're willing to be made fun of everywhere you go, and
there are better ways to spend your money.
well, sure. Oh yeah, look at this thing. Here I go. I found a picture of one. Oh my goodness, you're right, dude. That is uglier. I have to say, that is the most terrible looking car I have ever seen in my entire life. And to top it off in this picture, it's maroon, which is a color that should not exist for a car. It's a maroon Nissan Murano Cabriolet. Oh, it's got all-wheel drive. It's an all-wheel drive convertible. Oh my goodness. Look at that thing.
Well, I'm flattered that you're saying that's the ugliest car after you've seen my Honda Insight.
Dude, I think the Honda Insight has a unique beauty to it. It looks like something that was dreamed about in the 80s, like what future cars would look like. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever seen a Honda that wasn't a good-looking car. Like their industrial design is actually really good. I think as far as Japanese cars go, they might be the best. I think they're better than Toyota, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. Easily.
Oh my goodness, look at that. The wood paneling. Oh, it's hideous. Okay, sorry. Most of you are listening have no idea what we're looking at or why we're doing this. I'm going to go ahead and just start the music. And I'm going to fade off of this image so that this isn't the last image that is in your mind, and associate this image with our show because you'll never come back. And we want you all to come back We're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. For more SUV convertible talk, you want to follow me on Twitter. I'm at Erfon, ERF1. You can also just Google D. Griffin Jones, Mastodon. He'll pop right up. You'll love our upcoming new podcast series, our the best convertible SUV.
The CarCast.
CarCast, there you go. Or instead of covering cool cars, we only talk about the worst ones. How about that? That actually might be a topic that
Stay
could
tuned
work.
for next week when we talk about the Trabant.
Oh man, I got a car story for you next week. If you we want to talk cars, I had one of the ugliest cars ever made for like a year and a half of my life. That thing served me well. All right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up there. I want to thank everyone for hanging out live and for listening. Hope you all have a great weekend, and we will see you next. Oh wait, I can't just say next time. What am I doing? Next time, see Lewis leaves and completely get thrown off my game. I don't know if I would take it that far. Like, I finally felt with Lewis gone, we could just be free to be ourselves, you know? No more judging. No more revenge. No more worrying that you're going to wake up at night and he'll be standing there with his horse crop for something that you said on the show. Everyone's wishing us a ciao. I guess that's appropriate considering Lewis is probably in the Speedo with a gold chain on the beach right now. All right, everyone. Bye, y'all.